We do have a change in one of our presentations. We just did find out that Deputy Minister Lorna Rosen will not be attending the session scheduled for 1:30 to 2:30, but she is sending a real person in the personage of Michael Walter, ADM of Strategic Services and Governance. So where I would normally tell you to, go gently, have at it. So this afternoon we do have another one of those twists in terms of how we're changing up our symposium a little bit. And to introduce these Pecha Kucha sessions, we have one of our planning committee members, Donna Wesley from Aston View Public School. So Donna, it's off to you.
Thanks, Kevin. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch. It was so amazing. Oh, this place really feeds you well. As Kevin said, my name is Donna Wesley, and I'm a part of the Planning Committee. We are very fortunate today to have with us 7 groups of delegates who are going to present to us in a Pecha Kucha style. So what is a Pecha Kucha? A Pecha Kucha is a simple presentation format where the presenter is going to project 20 images, each for 20 seconds. The images are going to advance automatically, and the presenter is going to talk along to the images. The purpose of a Pecha Kucha is to challenge the presenters to present something that they are passionate about within the guidelines of a 6-minute and 40-second presentation. This format allows us to share 7 presentations in this 1-hour time slot. As the session progresses, you'll be able to see how much time they have left by watching this traffic light here. Green means that the presenter has quite a bit of time left. Yellow means that they're getting closer to the end of their presentation, and red means, well, you're done. So you might have 10 seconds to wrap up. As you will see, a Pecha Kucha format is great for sharing ideas to get a conversation started. Unlike traditional presentations, you will not be given an opportunity to have a question and answer session with the presenters. However, should you have questions for them, at the end track them down or contact them via email through your contact list. The presenters will introduce themselves as they begin their Pecha Kuchas, and I hope that you enjoy this rapid-fire method of sharing.
That's yours, you can take that.
Hey everyone, my name is Caleb. I'm here with Path 5, formerly Dreamstock Studios. It's been a big year for us. We can talk about that later though. I'm here to talk to you about curating your story, and it's kind of the icebreaker Pecha Kucha, that is hard to say, session that we're going to be doing today. We're going to cover the history of storytelling, its role in the workplace, the impact it can have on people. We're also going to touch on a few practical ways to identify, collect, and share stories. Now, storytelling, the story of it begins, as most do, at the beginning. In this case, it's a cold, dark night around a campfire, and at the very beginning of our species. History confirms that mankind figured out, as soon as they figured out language, we started telling stories. Now, in a world millennia before we figured out writing and recording our history, storytelling was extremely important. Stories served as really the only mechanism for teaching, learning, and passing on vital information. Everything from how not to get eaten by wild animals to the meaning of life itself was passed on exclusively by word of mouth. With this in mind, the collection, preservation, and presentation of stories was obviously taken very seriously. History shows us that every culture had people that were dedicated to this. We can call them professional storytellers. Celts had the Druids, Islamic nations had the dervishes, Mongolia relied on shamans, Native Americans looked to the elders, and the list goes on. Over time, though, something happened. After a millennia of success, stories kind of faded in contrast to the rise of technology. With each invention, writing, the printing press, the typewriter, and so on, communication became more and more technical and formalized, available to the masses without the need for a middleman. In the 1900s, we then saw what some call the professionalization of the workplace. It started post-industrial revolution, a time when business schools were cranking out students who thought like the machines that they worked on. Here, process and procedure were king. It's also here where communication in the workplace officially went the way of formal reports, memos, and policies. Now, it didn't die, obviously, storytelling, but it changed. It's a very important part of our culture and our society. And it went on to be more like plays, radio, film. It was still very important, but just kind of went into the entertainment category, so to speak. Now, I hope that some of you here are Mad Men fans, because we're now fast-forwarding to Madison Avenue, New York in the mid-1960s. This is where storytelling started to make its rise in the professional circles once again. Storytelling, as the top execs found, was a very powerful way to move people. It's a very powerful way to relate to people and spread messages. So professional communicators, like our pal Don Draper, eventually made that popular. Over the next few decades, storytelling slowly permeated into kind of everyday life. Management courses are taught via situational examples and role-playing, and of course we have social media that allows everybody to tell their story, to share their personal experiences. Now, it may be hard to see how this can apply to our jobs or work environments. At first, I certainly thought so when I was exposed to the concept, but then I realized that any role or any jobs anyone does, from getting your husband to take out the garbage to getting students to do their homework, involves some form of communication that will persuade, move, or lead. And to be effective in this, the power of story can be very reliable. Research shows that 70% of learning and competence is a result of informal learning. We also know that when a story is being told, people tend to leave critical and analytical mindsets. They put down their pens, they open their posture, and they receive. It's from this place, this informal place, that we can tell stories that have deep and lasting impact. As far as impact is concerned, the right story can really do a lot. Due to their personal nature, they often appeal to emotion. We can inspire, we can motivate, we can encourage, we can teach important lessons, draw comparisons, and help people kind of shift their mindsets and their perceptions. A great story can even change the way people look at and view you. To unlock this power, we need to understand the themes and emotions and experiences that move people. Themes like success and victory, fear and excitement, and relatable experiences like being rejected or overcoming adversity. We're looking for things that unite us and provide a platform for the points that we want to make. Every day in our classrooms, offices, and personal lives, things happen. Little victories, shortcomings, and the like. Sometimes they're small, and other times they're big. Regardless of this, though, it's important to document these happenings. Good practices would be to keep a journal, take notes while you're on the phone, and saving emails. Just really simple places to start. After that, we need to start collecting. The best way to do this is to keep a folder on your desktop or start a Google Drive, categorizing by topics and themes. At Path 5, our team is dedicated to this. We have a central folder that everyone shares and uses. We use it every day, and it's been very helpful for us. It's awesome. It's also important to take time to reflect on the stories and happenings that you have been gathering. The whole process really needs to be very intentional and well thought out. It's also very important to fully understand the meanings, takeaway points, and other things that might be useful to those that are listening. Once you understand and sift through your documented stories, it's then time to use them. In our world, this is quite easy. We can share with people that we work with every day in our classrooms, in our offices, and of course we have things like great websites, blogs, and social media to do the trick. Now, the trick is they're not to how to do it, but often picking the best opportunities and things to share about. That's where the challenge can come. Like with most things, this will take practice. Getting the habit of recording events, identifying themes, and sharing might not be natural for us, but it's a shift in thinking from being, on hard facts and bullet points to things like, trying to be a relational or inspirational leader and communicator. One of the most exciting aspects of this that I see at work is the way it can change a culture in a classroom or a workplace. I feel it creates a very valuable sense of authenticity, honesty, and transparency. Because of this, at Path 5, we made storytelling a very important part of working together, and we've had some amazing results. If you guys are curious, ask me about it sometime. I'd love to share. Having the opportunity to move and influence others is really pretty awesome, and being effective at it requires a diverse set of skills. Storytelling is one of the skills or the tools that we can use. I would encourage everyone to occasionally get back to the fireside mindset and put some thought to the use of story in your classrooms, offices, and organizations. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jenny Gordon. I'm the principal at Cape Public Charter School in Medicine Hat.
And I'm Pamela Eady, and I'm a humanities teacher for grades 4 through 8 at Cape School Medicine Hat.
And we're very pleased to present to you integrated teaching. What is integration? Well, integration is the process of purposefully combining objectives across the curriculum for various disciplines to create authentic, meaningful, and engaging learning experiences. At Cape, the integrating teaching model is developed through each teacher's strengths. It takes into consideration interests of students, the learning styles of students, the strengths of the students, but it also takes into consideration the interests of the teacher, their learning style, their teaching capacity, and their strength.
Objectives must come together naturally. Not all concepts blend sensibly, and so forcing objectives together does not enforce powerful understanding of key ideas. It is also more challenging for students to see the connections. When selecting objectives, we look at building student competency to build skills, apply those skills, and build confidence. Each teacher will see connections differently, and so will his or her students.
Technology also must be integrated purposefully. Technology is not just computers. It is tools, apps, rulers, stencils, equipment, and machines. It is not enough just to word process or create a presentation. Technology must be selected for what it is able to do, the benefit it brings, and the creative way it can be used.
In humanities, we use the objectives from the social studies curriculum as a starting point. Language objectives are connected to pieces where they are logical and engaging for the students. All language concepts are learned in an applied context within the social studies curriculum. Art, music, drama, and health objectives are also embedded so as to enrich the learning opportunities. In our kindergarten program, the students were learning about their families, different customs, and unique cultural celebrations. Our superintendent shared her Italian heritage. The class learned Italian words and looked at letters and sounds in those words. They used measuring tools to make pizza dough. They sang Italian songs and danced the tarantella. Objectives blended from 5 curriculum areas.
In grade 3, students learned about India. Comparisons were done between India and Canada using statistics like precipitation, population, and temperature. The students learned how to dance Bollywood, how to rock climb and cook Indian food, and each student shared their knowledge through Pecha Kucha presentations.
History is a major topic in the grade 4 and 5 social studies curricula. Students experienced settler life by learning pioneer skills, measuring, cutting, and sewing of aprons. Using found materials, students duplicated pioneer games. Experiences from the selected novel study were replicated in the classroom when students cooked bannock and made homemade jam.
Our junior highs also experienced time travel in planning a Renaissance fair. Students were able to be part of the feudal system. Again, information retrieved from research was applied to create costumes, a menu, and entertainment in the way of dance or comedy. Some students made a diorama of the Globe Theatre, while others mocked jousting battles.
Student feedback. We really get deep into the topic by doing integrated projects, says Hemank. I like it when we mix social studies with other subjects because it gives me a chance to use life skills that I would not regularly use at school, says Debistry. We get to move around and learn outside of our desks, says Andrew.
In sciences, the science curriculum is the starting point. Math objectives are matched within units so that skills may be taught and applied within labs, projects, and investigatory learning. Health often links well within sciences. Art, as well, includes a number of opportunities to learn about scientific processes. Music has been creatively integrated to challenge students. When grade 1 students learn about structures and building, they also learn about the basic needs of various types of shelters. When choosing materials, each student investigates the natural environment of a chosen animal and recreates a suitable home. Oral presentations are practiced so students can share and celebrate learning, and fictional stories enhance the individual contexts.
When grade 2 students learned about flying and crawling insects, there was the opportunity to see how these creatures are viewed globally. Anatomical painting of various insects showcased body parts. Measurements of body parts were compared. Seasoned locusts from Thailand were savored, or maybe not. Found items were also used to recreate large models. Gardening and self-sustaining systems were brought to life as students in 4-5 learned about plants. A greenhouse visit had students investigating and photographing plants and their characteristics while comparing growing requirements. After planting from seeds, cuttings, and bulbs, students measured and tracked growth. Replanting at home was encouraged.
Junior high students had authentic opportunities to engage with fresh and saltwater systems when they looked at water quality and community and global water issues. Stats of water quality were compared and presented visually. Koi and other pondfish were presented in modern and traditional paintings. Students took part in raising funds for water education and community water cleaning.
Student feedback. It helps me learn when we pair my favorite subject, art, with my least favorite subject, math, says Aluzai. I like integration because I can get an education while doing some things I love, like art, says Trinity. And Ismail says, I like the projects that apply skills, like their superhero project in chemistry, our million-dollar project in math, and building our website.
So how do you evaluate integrated learning? One of the questions we need to ask as educators is, what will we accept as proof of learning? Integrating and learning experiences are key, and integrating experience into our world. We need to have that purposely thought.
Student reflection involves the student being able to determine if the student has included all parts that are required to demonstrate their learning. It also involves identification of what has worked well, what was challenging, how those challenges were overcome, what would need to be continued to do well, and what would need to change and why, in order to understand how to put how their input is related to the outcome.
Formative and summative assessments need to happen for effective determination of student learning within an integrated environment to take place. Check-ins with individual students is an investment in building independence and confidence. The end result or product can be assessed with the student. The benefits of integrated teaching and learning are there for both students and teachers. By making multiple connections, students have greater opportunities to see the importance of their learning. They get to be excited and involved. It is also exciting to be involved and active in this learning as a teacher and administrator. It gives us the opportunity to engage with students personally and to challenge ourselves to bring learning to life.
Good afternoon. I am Thérèse Duchamplain-Good, the Executive Director of the Edmonton Regional Learning Consortium, and with me I have
Tracy Mastrangelo, and I am the coordinator for the Wellness, Resiliency and Partnerships Project, which is based out of Greater St. Albert Catholic School Division.
We're pleased to be here today to share with you this important information with hopes you bring this back to your respective networks.
FASD is prevalent anywhere in the world where there is alcohol and women who are able to get pregnant. Fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is preventable, lifelong disability resulting from prenatal alcohol exposure that has no cure. It is the most common developmental disability worldwide. FASD is an umbrella term that refers to at least 276 forms of brain dysfunction. No two people with an FASD look, act, or are affected the same way. Alcohol is a teratogen that crosses the placenta barrier and goes directly to the developing fetus. Alcohol interferes with developing fetus cells at any time in utero. Other drugs are also teratogenic, such as heroin, crack, cocaine, meth, and prescription medication. However, alcohol is the most damaging teratogen. Prenatal alcohol exposure confirmation is a sensitive issue, however, is required for the diagnosis of FASD, as well as facial dysmorphology and brain impairment. However, facial dysmorphology is very, very rare. Looking specifically at brain impairment, in order to be diagnosed, we are looking for a standard deviation of 2 or more in 3 of these areas. Recently, affect regulation was included and speaks to anxiety disorders and depression. Typically, people diagnosed are scoring in 6 or more brain areas. Brain growth starts like a tube or like a cauliflower. So we start with as a single tube, which is the brain stem. The next part of the brain to develop is our limbic system, and after that is our neocortex, which is the part that we need students to be able to access in order to be able to learn in our classrooms. As the brain develops in utero, cells at all levels are impacted and impaired by alcohol, starting with the glial cells that act as scaffolding to the neurons, which can be killed and or impaired. Teachers are not typically seeing facial features, as this is an invisible disability. They do, however, see brain-based behaviors and daily struggles that interfere with learning and the overall success for students affected with an FASD. Together with Dr. Jacqueline Pye from the University of Alberta, we realized that teachers were not receiving relevant support or training to equip them to best understand FASD and how to support the success of students affected. From there, Professionals Without Parachutes was born. Professionals Without Parachutes started 5 years ago. We received a research grant to develop a model of providing professional development to educators that moved away from the traditional stand and deliver and supported ongoing networks and communities of practice.
The Edmonton Regional Learning Consortium and the Learning Network, 2 of the 7 consortia in the province, were granted grant dollars as well to work with Dr. Jacqueline Pye and her team to build a resource to support ongoing learning in the area of FASD. The goals of the project were primarily to enhance educator awareness, and when I say educator, I mean all educators, and build capacity to support students with FASD. The resources provides an explanation of FASD in easily understood terms for all educators that will allow for creating a positive learning environment for all students. Since September 1, 2015, the launch of the web-based resource, it has been accessed on the web internationally over 3,500 times. The resource can be found at engagingalllearners.ca. There are demonstration videos supporting a series with a supporting series of learning guides. Each learning guide has key messages along with discussion questions and additional resources to continue the learning. The resource is built with 3 modules, and each module is split into deep discussions in all groups in very manageable chunks. These modules can be used by any individual or groups of educators wanting to understand FASD, and they are designed to be used by professional learning communities, learning coaches, teacher leaders, or as a safe-paced study for all individuals. There are a multitude of additional resources included on the landing page at Engaging All Learners to support your awareness and understanding of FASD. All the resources included are from Alberta and or Canada. Once again, Consortia is pleased to work with Alberta Education as well as multiple partners to build a multitude of resources to support all learners. Be sure to access resources at Engaging All Learners and at erlc.ca. Please find promotional resources on your table to share with your networks. If you would like more, please see myself or Tracy after the presentations. We'll be available for more questions.
Hi, my name is Ryan Birch. I'm the Assistant Principal of St. Francis of Assisi Middle School with Red Deer Catholic Regional Division in Red Deer. This is my colleague Michelle Frunchak, grade 6 teacher at our school as well. We're going to be sharing with you our story or our journey for our response intervention program that we implemented in our school. We're in year 2 of that implementation, started last year. If you have any further questions or anything like that, I've left some business cards on the table up front here, and you're more than happy to grab one of those and email me at any time. So we'll hand that over to Michelle.
So 2 years ago, we embarked on this journey. Our administrator approached the staff and said, what do you think about this idea of RTI, is what it was called, response to intervention, and gathered a group of staff members, and we headed off to Omaha, Nebraska to do a little bit of a book study first and then see Mike Matos. Lots of us were really skeptical when we did the book study to see if it would be able to be implemented in our school. However, after the first half day, we were sold. We were already planning how we could get it in and work through it.
We identified 4 principles from that RTI presentation that we wanted to focus on within our school, the first one being collective responsibility. So the basic understanding that all students can learn. That was probably the easy part, was having our teachers on board with that. The second being concentrated instruction, so emphasizing the same things at the same time. Third, convergent assessment, and then lastly, certain access. So some changes that we had in our school is we had to norm our curriculum. So making sure teachers were teaching the same thing at the same time throughout the school year. creating times. We wanted to embed that time within our timetable, so this was not something that was done before or after school or at lunch. And also creating some collaborative time, looking at exploratory redesign, and then the one thing we added was Will Hour, which we'll get into in a bit.
So norming the curriculum was where we started to have those discussions between grades, grade teams, what was important, where was the emphasis being placed, and trying to identify key vocabulary and big rocks or big ideas.
A couple of things we developed were literacy guides and numeracy guides. So our literacy guides, basically a teacher walks into our building, we hand that to our language arts teacher, and it basically tells them how and what they need to be teaching as far as our language arts curriculum is concerned. Another focus of that was also vocabulary, so identifying common vocabulary for each grade team. We then looked at creating time, so we embedded time on our Tuesday and Thursday schedule. So there was a block, a 35-minute block that was inserted in there to address those students that were at that tier 2 level. So ones that needed a little additional support in math or language arts. So we basically inserted that time between our block 3 and block 4 classes. So every Tuesday and Thursday, when block 3 ends, those students do that transition into block 2 time, which is called deal or break curriculum. And it's going to be about 35 minutes. We basically have every single teacher, every single PA, and everything using that time for this system.
So we did that for the first year, and after the first year, at 5 minutes at the end of the day that we collected, just didn't seem as useful as giving the teachers time. So the teachers came back and discussed, and we said, why don't we do 20 minutes on a Monday to incorporate more time for assigned students into their specific sessions. So collaborative time, everything that seems to happen, teachers are always time. So we were able to get some additional preparation time, and this was helping us make sure that teachers were teaching same concepts of big rocks, how things were going. We started making use of the discussion of identifying tools for what types of instruction for those students. We already had the meeting to exploratory redesign, 2 or 3 years for those students that just need a little extra help to meet those big objectives, because the goal is all students to achieve a high level. And so having this exploratory design helped us to achieve that. Again, that whole time, one of the things teachers do, they get up their lunch hours and always looking for more time. Sometimes it's a skill thing where students struggle with concepts. Sometimes it's not work thing, they will not do it. So we started to look at the difference between that.
Basically, I'll also reflect this. At the end of every quarter, we ask each of our teachers to basically assign themselves to a session on the Tuesday as well as the Thursday session. So at the end of the day on Friday, all of our teachers who signed up
know what they're going to do. One thing I really just noticed that when they guys do this, they go through the simulation when they get together and say, you know what, probably wasn't as good as I thought it was. I'm not going to get fulfilled. This is also a win-win. I think for the student, it means that they made a choice or a direction that's going to best suit them, and when hopefully go there, they'll manage to save themselves a huge amount of their time and paying up needing to employ who will leave in a short period of time. So when you look at these simulations and these occupational skills, as anyone for everybody, both the community and for the student. The particular simulation we're looking at right now for the both, we have some of our two upstairs in room 306 and 308. I would invite everyone up to look at that either with the room or in the next session. The big thing that we want to remind people of is that this is an equipment kind of simulator. And so you see that they actually get the controlled surfaces. And so this simulator actually moves around from this to planets and stays in school for 2 to 4 weeks. And so you go through that project and that simulation in a time frame. We put that through the state and we help promote that kind of work. This is kind of the first of our similar experiences. We found a company that active on this. Typically in the second semester, it seems like in the first semester we want to get the students, especially academic courses. And then in the second semester, maybe the realization that, you know, how we missed some things in the first semester, we like to move on to the second. And so we only booked 5 slots in the first semester this year. We were fully booked for this school year when we're looking at the next school year. There's studies, however, into next school year that we're looking at the high school year and going to do it for a week. And a very good tech company called Kucha, something called Alberta Education Symposium. This is an orientation service group. Service groups are under occupation, but don't have a secondary program. You can't go to the state to the service groups. So what we've done is we've created a scaffolding course on most of the education and service group simulators. And this scaffolding course goes through the actual instruction. This tells students what is service group components, what the skills you have to have. This is what we're going to use to actually practice the skills. Unlike the forestry simulator, the energy education simulator is entirely based on a laptop or a desktop computer. Not a Chromebook. Which is something that has to make this work. But it puts the student into a first-person avatar-based environment. Taking them right from the initial setup, which is the surface inspector and the well site, right through to getting into them. We went through or are currently going through the third iteration of the pilot. The first pilot was the actual pilot of the simulator moving, and that was a group of FNI students in the river. And the amount of engagement that was happening with students was incredible. Because it appealed to the experiential learning style of the cultural aspects of the movie. And so that was very powerful. We then moved into the iteration where we're piloting it with our online schools as partners, since they were the originators of the curriculum. We're currently in a prototype in our pilot, and we're going to be moving into the high implementation in the new school year. So that's the second big thing. And then looking ahead, the third thing that we're going to work with, and it's kind of an experiment focus, is around the welding simulators. The welding simulator obviously goes along with the technical fabrication. The simulators that we're using are relatively simple, and we're looking at potential upgrades that can become a little bit rigorous. Now, what we're using right now is one of 2 things. We have a number of junior high schools who are using the simulators as part of CPM for a perfect concept innovation program. So it gives students at least some kind of introduction to what we're about. We also have a number of high schools that actually have welding programs, but they're using our simulators as a gatekeeper to a students who are into the actual welding suits. After all, we don't want to use our very valuable, consumable resources if we want to see that you're not getting more skills for your learning. And so what you see is that you can actually collect on both elements. This is very much a simulator of progress, a simulator of experiment, if you will. And again, I invite everyone up to 306 and 408. You know, the links are in the next session, and we'll be happy to talk to you and show you all the simulations that we have. also use the K-12 system to continue the journey into their own beyond. 3 years ago, the ministry launched the Learning Technology Policy Framework to guide school jurisdiction teams to broaden support and empower learners in their digital learning environments. NTPS is using the Learning and Technology Policy Framework as a guidepost and adapting it to organize and structure our thinking about learner pathways. This slide is a graphic illustration of 5 components of NTPS learner pathways that may coexist to enhance one another. So one key feature of the personalized learning component is ownership and accountability for one's own learning. So our question to you as the audience: how will you support or be impacted by personalized learning in your role? The professional learning component focuses on the goals, accountability, and responsibilities of one's own learning. The question to you as the audience: how might you support or be impacted by professional learning in your role? The leadership component requires courage, resilience, and perseverance for transformation. How will you know when you be impacted by leadership? How will you support it? Knowledge learning environments focuses on appropriate, accessible, intelligent, and relevant learning experiences. Of course, we've heard many this afternoon. Our question to you as the audience: how might you support or be impacted by quality learning environments in your current role? The community partnership component of eligible to service partners is a data learning system for the future. Our question to you: how may you support or be impacted by community partnerships in your role? In response to our ever-changing society and its need for diversity over conformity, we may see an urgency for middle pathways to be intentional, to know to the K-12 journey. May our children be able to explore their passions with purpose. May their dreams not be limited by opportunities offered to them, but rather expanded and refined by those they pursue with the support of their learning system. The possibilities as our students continue their journey into their own beyond. Imagine what students can do. So at this time, I'd like to invite you in for a more detailed draft document so that you can provide some feedback. The every link will be in our presentation on the website. We would like to hear from other constituents who are contemplating or looking to engage in this work. Please feel free to reach